So for my independent reading project, I decided to read The Idea of Pakistan by Stephen Philip Cohen. And so I chose to read this book because I got into a debate in history class about the nature of the state of Pakistan and what it really was. So I just decided to take this book out from the library because, well, I just saw it on the bookshelf and I read the title and I decided that this could help support my argument. And, well, unfortunately it didn't. I got proven wrong. But I did enjoy reading this book, and it was because it was really solid. It cut straight to things, all the different aspects of Pakistan. And so Pakistan has a lot of, well, factors that affect it as a state. And so that's what it's about, exploring all these different factors, the idea that it was founded on, the state, how it's currently doing, and the very influential role that the army plays in, and its politics and religion, which is also very important. So I'll just start talking about these separate things. So, the idea of Pakistan. So, Pakistan was founded as a separate state for Indian Muslims, and the reason why is when the British pulled out, some Indian Muslims feared that if they would be in the same state with India, they would always get outvoted by the vast Hindu majority, and so they would never get anything done. And, well, basically, they thought that they would be oppressed, so that's why they decided to start their own separate Muslim state. And this state included, well, modern-day Pakistan, and also Bangladesh. Okay, and for the state and the army. So, Pakistan was, well, India is a very diverse place, first of all. And, well, the Indian subcontinent is a very diverse place, and that includes Pakistan. And so the only thing tying Pakistan together was Islam. And Pakistan was founded to oppose the Hindu majority, or at least be free from it. So at first, the army had a lot of power. And, well, I should first talk about the founder of Pakistan, Jinnah. He only ruled for a short time as a leader, but he was revered as the creator of Pakistan. Sort of like George Washington, like the father of the nation. And so, what he envisioned for Pakistan was a secular Western progressive state, similar to that of Ataturk's Turkey. And the army was given a lot of power, and basically it got to decide how this vision was carried out. And so, well, first of all, the unifying feature of Pakistan was Islam, and so the army focused a lot on the Islam aspect of Pakistan. And this kind of went against Jinnah's vision for a sort of secular Pakistan, and it would have several consequences later. But the army was very powerful, and that's the main opposition to Pakistan's democracy today. So, basically, whenever governments would get close to India and open up, the army would just, well, throw a coup and throw them out of power. And the reason why was because the army was basically to guard against the Hindu majority, and if there was no reason to guard against the Hindu majority, because, let's say, warmer relationships and a guarantee of peace, then really there's no reason for the army to exist. And the army leaders, they really like power. I mean, who wouldn't like power? So they would just hang on to that. And as I said, Well, that's the political system, and Islamic Pakistan. Okay, so all of this emphasis on Islam, it would, well, eventually culminate into something. So, there's a sort of word for schools for religious schools called a madrasa. I'm mispronouncing that. But basically, after decades of the army's emphasis on this Islam tying Pakistan together, well, it eventually led to something. And so, Islam, like, it sprouted a lot in Pakistan, and it culminated in many Islamic schools being opened and many Islamist parties, where basically it's champions an authoritarian regime that enforces the practice of Islamic customs. And in recent years, there's been a really big surge to it, and it's also helped justify the army's thing, sort of looping back. And so the army, it was really faced into a tough situation with maintaining power at home, countering India, and Pakistan borders two huge superpowers, India and China, so it has to maintain a very careful balance. And one thing that it did not want was another big superpower also influencing them. Remember, it had to keep Islam safe. So, when the Soviet Union invaded Afghanistan, it resulted in a lot of mujahideen, or defenders of the faith, basically holy warriors, decided to go and defend Afghanistan from the Soviets. And so Pakistan, being a sanctuary for Islam in India, couldn't allow this secular communist force right on their borders, or at least that's what they perceived the Soviets as. And as a result, they decided to support these mujahideen to go fight against the Soviets. And that resulted in, well, a lot. Well, first of all, it succeeded in the short term. The Soviets were driven out, and Afghanistan was secured. However, there were a lot of long-term effects. So a lot of these mujahideen organizations stayed after the war, and they blossomed into organizations such as Al-Qaeda, ISIS, and the Taliban. So make of that what you will. And some terrorist attacks have actually happened in Pakistan. So, I guess play stupid games, win stupid prizes. And regionalism and separatism, well, I'll just start talking about the future of Pakistan. So, as I said earlier, Pakistan is a very, very diverse place. If I could find a map here. So, there's a lot of different people that live here. And so its main, its dominant province is Punjab. This is like the core, has the most people, most infrastructure, and also I think that's where the capital is located. Sorry. So this is basically where most of Pakistan's power lies, despite it not making up most of the nation. Okay. And so there's a lot of different groups of people that, well, sort of don't want to be dominated by this Punjab. So, see here, the Baluch people and Sindh, they're entirely separate people culturally. And, well, Kashmir is up here. And, well, some people want to break away and form their own state, so that's a thing. And also, here you can see this NWFP, that's Northwestern Frontier Province. There's Pashtun people there, which are supposed to be part of Afghanistan. So, it's a very diverse place, and it is quite hard to hold it together. And Pakistan is actually an acronym. P stands for Punjab, A for Afghan, K for Kashmir, and I for Indus, named after the big river that basically runs through it and gives Pakistan life. So it's a very delicate balance, all dominated by Punjab. And so there has been some separatist movements. So recently there was a public protest about India renting out a Chinese port. And so educational and economic prospects, we've covered the demographics, and regionalism and separatism. So, as I said earlier, a lot of education happens in the madrasas, or Islamic schools, and obviously that comes with its own effects. So, basically, if you have an educational system that's based off of religion, well, religion and education don't quite go together. So, what happened here is that the madrasas raised a lot of religious fanatics and not really scholars, so to speak. And Pakistan's universities, there's often a lot less students than compared to neighboring India, or Iran for that case. And Pakistan's population quite surpasses Iran's. So I will just search up. Okay, so this is Pakistan's population. It's actually quite numerous, and Iran's population. So, Pakistan has a bit less than 3 times Iran's population size. And however, Iran still has a lot more people in universities. And that's because Pakistan has focused so much on military and religion. It didn't really develop its educational institutions. And as for Pakistan's economy, a lot of it goes to the military and not the civilians. So, basically, it hasn't really gotten its chance to prosper because it's been dealing with so many things, and also the rapid leadership changes under the army. And Pakistan, well, like, diplomatically, it's in a very tough spot. It's, well, neighboring 2 superpowers. And the thing is, it was an American ally for some time, but its support for the Mujahideen, the Taliban, and other Islamist organizations has kind of pushed America away. And it's allied to China now. Well, allied is a loose term, but yeah, it's confronting India, well, with the army, because the army won't let go of power. And the army has gotten help from China and also some espionage in order to build nuclear devices, which is supposed to emphasize Pakistan's moving forward, its superior technology. But in reality, it was just some espionage and Chinese help. So, a lot of its progress might actually be fake. And so, well, where does it stand now? I feel it's kind of, well, it hasn't lived up to its name. Pakistan, it isn't like some shining hub of Islam. It's not really prospering well. India's overshadowing it now, honestly. And, well, it hasn't, like, stood up to India as much as the founders thought it would. And it's falling behind scientifically and economically compared to neighboring India. And it's just not in a good place now. So, that was the summary. And, well, something new I learned I think I just told you. And who would I recommend this book to? I would definitely recommend it to any person who loves history. And there's actually another great book called The Anarchy. If I could get that. Hold on. Where is The Anarchy? Bruh. Where?
I don't know, I haven't seen it.
Oh, right here. Okay. And so this book ties in really well with this book called The Anarchy. It's also about India. Well, they're both about India. Well, more of the Indian subcontinent, and it really shows the geopolitical shifts that happened here. And so I would just recommend it to anybody who really enjoys reading about history. And that's it.